No, I love that. I love what you're just saying because I think that a lot of people see someone like you specializing and that's what they think. Oh, I've got to find my specialty. I've got to try and find the species and it doesn't work like that. I mean,
Right.
on few occasions it probably does. I really do now specialize in bears, but I do a whole bunch of other stuff. I just do a lot. The bears are the things, urban bears are the things I do in my spare time. I'm out filming black bears in urban environments. And I'm
And
one
that,
of the only people doing it.
is that, what is it about bears? What got you into bears? Just because you live out there, or what, did you see a bear on TV when you were a kid? Did you
Right.
have a little set
No,
bear
no.
you always
I,
do, still
I
do?
ironically, and I can talk about that in a bit, but ironically, the thing I saw as a kid was a whale shark, and that was my
Oh wow!
goal, not to film, but was to go and dive with whale sharks, and
Oh
I
wow!
did do that at 22, and so I was, that was epic. That was my cry in my mask, highly emotional underwater stage, right? Because it was just so epic. But but no, bears was when I started with National Geographic. I was an insect expert, right? I ran a wildlife park in the UK. I built curated an insect house, and actually physically built it because my dad was a builder. So we built
Cool.
everything, right? So I built everything from Bengal tiger enclosures to insect houses, right? Small
Wow.
vivariums. So I started this insect house. I was really into that. Production company came along. They thought I'd make a good presenter. That's how I got into it. I fell into it.
That's cool.
Next minute I knew we had a 6-part series on that geo. That was all.
Hey,
That was Insects from Hell, right? We did Insects from Hell 2. We did Rogue Raiders, Pests from Hell, Mosquito Hell, you name it. Lots of hells in there.
I was
Um,
like, that
right, that
sounds
sounds like hell. And then I met my wife filming black bears. Right, she did her masters on black bears in Colorado. She came
okay.
back to Nevada because she was born and bred here. We filmed with her. Long story short, I ended up here. I ended up just going out and filming a lot because I had transitioned from presenting to behind the camera, and
Okay.
I was kind of done with presenting. I was kind of like, I want to be more creative. I want to have build my own shows and what have you.
Right.
So started going out a lot with the bear biologist, right, of the area. She was now moving on to mountain lions, so I was filming with her, but then also going out and filming bears. And it just turned into this thing where the more time I put in, the more incredible footage I was getting of releases, putting remote GoPros out there for a bear to run over it. And as they were hazing these bears after catching them and trying to relocate them. And then I would start getting calls from the sheriff's department because they knew me. I'd always, be hanging out with them on these releases, and
Right.
and they knew what I was after. And they said, "Oh well, if we see a bear, we'll give you a call." So I'd start getting calls from like the sheriff's department and from the biologist saying, "Hey,
That's cool.
we can't." And they knew my background, and they knew I ran a wildlife park, and I had more experience with wildlife than most of the people in the department, right? So
Right.
they said, "Hey, would you go out and hang out with this bear and make sure it doesn't do anything dangerous, right, until we get there?" So I'd be like, "Yeah,
Cool.
sure." So I grabbed my gear and I'd go and hang with a bear for a couple of hours, following it, filming it, making sure it wasn't being dangerous, and then shoot off if it was. And
Right.
then I was getting this footage, right? And so it was unique, and it turned into that. And so I'm in a
Cool.
place where we have a lot of bears, right?
Right.
They're urban bears. It's where one of my goals is to raise awareness about why bears are in urban areas because
Dude,
it's humans
that is
causing it,
so
right?
cool. And it
Yeah. So
just brought up something I learned from Casey Anderson about grizzlies or brown bears is that they'll eat thousands and thousands of moths.
yeah,
Like the one of the
yeah,
biggest, most gnarliest predators on earth will eat little insects and eat moths. Is that right?
thousands of them. Yeah, they'll go and dig through it like a rock slope, a talus
Yeah,
slope, dig
that's
through
exactly
them
it.
and find the moths. Yeah, it's
People
unbelievable.
like, what does a grizzly bear eat? They must eat. Well, they of course they'll eat moose and elk, and they'll
Yeah,
eat bigger they're carnivores as
yeah,
well, or
but they're
omnivores.
yeah.
But when I heard that they will beef up and eat thousands upon thousands of moths, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Which are
man, it's so
huge in
cool.
protein, right? Which again,
Yeah,
I got on this huge kick. I made a show. It was an episode for Insects from Hell, and we were we traveled all over, but one of the places was Mexico City to eat insects, entomophagy, right? The eating
yeah,
insects. And in places like Mexico, they've been doing that for centuries, and there's like 71 species that have been eaten throughout that time. And they still
Wow.
do it. And there's this celebrity chef in his restaurant in Mexico City, and he made for me. I mean, and they're on the menu. He made Anteg. Those Anteg tacos. He made fly egg burgers with a mole chocolate sauce. Chapelinas, which are like fried grasshoppers. You know, the worm that's inside of mezcal or tequila worm, stuff like that. They fry them up. Locusts. So I went and ate all this stuff. Shield bugs, like stink bugs. Once you
Yeah.
fry them up, they taste pretty good, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So unbelievably high in protein
Right.
that if you pound for pound with like lean beef, there's no substitute. I can't remember what it is, but the protein is way higher.
Wow.
So as the world, and I'm going way off on a tangent here, but as the world, right, gets to a point where we just can't supply enough beef, we're going to turn towards insects. We're going to farm insects. We're going to turn towards it. You grind them down into a flour, and it is unbelievably healthy and full of protein.
Wow.
So it's no wonder a brown bear knows this
That
and
is the-
goes and eats thousands. When these moths, hatch out and they're in their thousands, geez, it's a great source of protein when they can't get anything else. So yeah.
That's what my favorite things about the job is just learning new things about animals. And I had an experience in Western Australia where I had these two great white sharks swimming over my head and past me. I was out of the cage at about 75 feet. And they caught my eye because they were staying really close to each other, and it's not uncommon to see multiple white sharks aggregate swimming past. Sometimes they parallel swim, they're sizing each other up. Sometimes it's just coincidental, they're swimming close to each other, they bump into each other. But these two sharks, they literally would not leave each other's side, to where even in one shot, that guy Andy Mitchell got this amazing shot. They swim over my head, they go down this ridge, they come back still in tandem over my head again. Then they do a little split, like, okay, not that I'm going to distract him, but and anyway, long story short, we went back 14 months later, a year and 2 months later, and found those two same great white sharks still with each other. And it was in an area where there's a pupping ground not too close, or a pupping ground not so far away. And great whites can have up to 14 pups in a single litter. It's debatable. There might have been 15. There was a massive white shark in Taiwan that was caught, had 14 pups. There's a photograph of it, but it almost looked like they're 15. Long story short, if you're born with, not all big female white sharks are going to drop 14 pups. I think the range was 2 to 14. But if, let's say, even a 6 sharks, if you're born on the same reef roughly at the same time, like, I know humans like to anthropomorphize mammals, and that killer whales have this amazing family unit. That's real. It happens. Dolphins do, and apes and monkeys and primates and all that. But like, I believe sharks have this kinship where if I was born on the same reef as 5 of my other siblings, damn, I'm going to follow them around to see if they're getting any food. And I bump into them. Hey, what are you doing? What are you over there? You're not at the same. You're not going to eat each other. You're going to either compete or help each other. I don't know. Maybe.
Huh? No, I mean, so much research and scientific data has come out of camera people watching behavior and telling scientists, who then go in and pick up on it or watch the footage. So,
I showed it to David Attenborough at a bar in West Palm Beach in Jupiter, Florida. And he's like, that's photoshopped. I'm like, no, it's not. I showed it to him a few times, and he's like, that's incredible. And then actually, Steve Baxel reached out. I don't know if they went back down there to check it out, but I've been trying to get Discovery we did actually 3 films there, and we were trying to take DNA, and the Aussies are a bit cagey about their sharks. They still drumline and kill them in nets, and they have all these issues. So we couldn't get the permission to get the DNA data to prove that they were related. But anyway, regardless, I think it's really cool, like you said, when naturalists really, they dig deep, and when they have that amount of experience, that data is valuable information to scientists that then can take it and empirically analyze it, apply all the ones and zeros and everything they need to legitimize it, so to speak. And I think that's incredible. Yeah, it's a great way to collaborate. That's why I call it cinema science. We're doing cine science.
No, I mean, I think it's massively helpful, and that most of the time guys like you are in the field way more than any scientist can be, because they have to be in the lab, or they have to be at a desk, they have to be analyzing data. And so
Right.
you have that ability to be in the field all the time, seeing things. And it is time, isn't it? I mean, it's time to,
Yeah.
you can, I've been over a decade filming black bears, urban black bears, and I filmed some stuff within the last 3 months I've never seen before. But
Cool.
it took me 14 years to see that, right? And so it's
Cool.
just, when stuff like that happens, it's like, well, I put the time in. That's
Yeah.
the only way it happens.
Exactly.
I wanted to just go back. You mentioned Bob Cranston. I met Bob off the coast of Durban. We were filming the sardine run years ago,
Dude,
2006,
I
2006
filmed
or
with
earlier.
Bob as well.
Well, I haven't filmed with him. I didn't film. He was there with, I think, maybe the BBC. We were Nat Geo. He was there with another network filming, but
I,
it was literally a handshake. So
I was with Bob Cranston in 2006 on the sardine run. There was Galatea, which was a French guy, Didier, not Galatea was the
yeah,
production company. But it was really funny. We were working out of Incombati and Umkamas and bouncing around. But they were there longer than me. I came in to do some sardine round work with them. Him and Peter Craig, his assistant at the time, who's now a badass DP in his own right. But I remember, because we actually pulled up to Didier's boat, and Bob's like, "Hey, Didier, have you seen any sardines?" And Didier's like, "Even if we did, we would not tell you," as a joke.
yeah, of course.
They're wearing the red beanies and stuff. It was really fun.
Oh,
That's
that's fantastic. We were so lucky. I mean, we were filming on small cameras. We were with a guy. Have you ever met James Bain from Cape Town?
Yeah. The last time I worked on him, he had crazy red dyed hair. He's like a big,
He's a big guy. He's like
boy.
6'4" something, big
He
South
was my
African.
stage diver on a few shoots with Charles Maxwell, because
Charles Maxwell, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so cool.
so James actually, he came when I met my wife. He was there. It was there was four of us. It was me, my wife, a director, cameraman, and James Bain. And
Wow.
we were in the Amazon. He was actually doing second camera. My wife at the time was doing sound. Well, she wasn't my wife at the time, but she was, holding the boom and
That's
doing
cool.
some field production stuff. Yeah. So James, great guy, one of the nicest people on earth. Love that guy. He's just super, super sweet. He's like a friendly giant.
He's a gentle giant for
But
sure.
so I went down. I got to talk about this now. I went down on that shoot. We were there for 5 days. It was ridiculous. We got out there. That's all our budget was. It was like, how the
Wow.
heck are we going to film a bait ball in 5 days? And
And you did.
we did. Yeah, last day, 11th hour, right?
There you go.
So I hadn't dived in a long time, and we got out on the boat, and the swell was just huge, and we're in those little 22-foot boats, and we're trying to get out. We get out there. I'm sick as a dog because we're out there for like 5 hours on a little dinghy, and I said to James, I gotta get in the water. I just want to do a few test dives. I don't want to sit here waiting for something to happen. Let's just get in the water and do some dives, right? So it's just me and James. So we jump in. Our first dive, we drop down, and we're at like 30 meters. We just drop down like stones, right? He's probably following me because I'm just, So I drop down, and within minutes, we're surrounded by sharks, right? And this ended up being in the program. We've got bronze whalers and I think black tips maybe going around us, and there's about 20 sharks, and they just start spiraling around us. And I'm looking at him, and I know he's the open water great white guy, so everything's good if James is there and he's sweet, and he's like, I'm like, all right. So we head up, and I'm like, they kind of, they kind of look hungry, but of course they're all waiting for the sardines, right? So they have no interest in us. They have no interest. But it was one of those moments. It was my first dive in years, and I'm in this spiral of sharks, and I'm like, yeah,
Sure, man.
That's so
fun.
that was cool. And then on the 5th day, we'd been out on the ocean. I was exhausted. I'd been so sick throughout the week just because of the little boats. James just sitting there eating his lunch, on this little boat, and we end up getting a call, and we jumped in. We were like, just a stone's throw from where the bait ball was, and we jump in and we filmed the whole sequence for most of the 45-minute show in the 1 hour of watching this bait ball be
Wow.
decimated by everything. So that
Well,
was incredible. Most incredible experience I've had being in that bait ball was just unbelievable, unbelievable. So
Eric.
brings me on to you and best experiences, right? You've had some incredible experiences with all kinds of wildlife. What has been, is there a standout? Like mine is definitely the sardine run. That can't be topped. What is there for you?
So I kind of just told it. It was with those two brother great whites, but since I already told that one, and that's where I was like I couldn't believe it. They weren't aggressive. They were curious, but I was just amazed that they were sticking with each other. But I'll try to think something else. Another one actually was another shark story for the BBC. Their shark series quite a few years ago, and like you were just saying, the 11th hour. And I really wanted to do well because the Beeb has extremely high standards, and I'm not delusional. There are so many better cameramen out there in the world, and I was given a shot to shoot for the BBC, and I was really stoked. And I remember we were trying to get the ultimate hunting sequence in False Bay, and we had this thing called the Perfect Horizon, which was completely imperfect. Now now that we have shot overs and Cineflex and gimbals and Ronins and DJI, all these amazing stabilizers. And I had this giant, like hydraulic driven thing that started with just would take the whole camera and start going into like a fucking Bronco to the point where I pulled away and started filming it with my iPhone, and Steve Greenwood as well, the director, started filming it because we had paid a lot of money for it. I'm not trying to slag off the company. It was a struggle to the point where we started pulling it off of the mount and trying to shoot handheld. You're trying to shoot handheld, shoulder mounted on a boat that's moving, on an ocean that's moving, on seals that are moving, sharks that are moving, human bodies moving. Everything was moving. It was so challenging. I was like, oh my God. And I remember, I had another second camera with me, and Steve was there, and then Steve went up in the Cineflex. But anyway, we had gotten a lot of bits and pieces of the hunt, and we had some pretty cool stuff, but we didn't have the shot, And then on the very last day, on the very last morning, we're following a group of seals. I believe we had ripped the camera off the sticks because the mount wasn't working, and I'm sitting there, and I kind of not low spirits, but kind of like, oh man.
Yeah.
Delivered. And then not out of nowhere, I'm following this group of 8 seals, and in the middle of it, a great white comes right out with one of them perfect in its mouth. It's not the perfect shot by any means,
but you were on it.
I was on it. It was a great moment, which then rounded out that sequence. And I remember thinking oh, thank fucking God, at least I got a decent kill. Wasn't the best, but that was a cool moment because I think it's important for people to also realize that you're watching all these amazing things on television. And as you know, especially as we all started out, you're filming often on a tiny black and white viewfinder, sweating your ass off or freezing off, looking at these animals that are incredible, that you'd much rather just be sitting there appreciating and enjoying and watching, while these people back at home on their 55-inch, 75-inch televisions with popcorn and air conditioning and a beer are like, what? That is amazing, man. That must have been an amazing experience to see. And you're like, well, my head was buried in a tiny little viewfinder, sweating bullets, messing with the but it's worth it all in the end when you can inspire people. They see that. Nowadays, most of us are shooting with bigger monitors. So I know a lot of people don't bury their head in the...
It still isn't the same as looking, and I think it's a valid point, that if you want to get into this industry, anyone listening wants to get into this industry and thinks that it's a bunch of incredible experiences. They are incredible, but they're not the same as whale watching, right? They're not. They're not buying a ticket to go and watch something. They are being uncomfortable, being having anxiety about whether you're actually going to get what the heck you're there for. Did you do the right thing? Did I just double tap record? What the heck? Right? I mean, all of that stuff. Sometimes I get back off a shoot and I start to relax because it's I've been so anxiety ridden on that shoot, hoping I'm going to make it work. It's going to be right. When the behavior happens, like you say, when that shark comes up, for me, it's like when a bear pops up out of a dumpster or walks over and climbs into the window of a pickup truck or something like that. that I'm
Right.
rolling and I'm steady and I'm exposed, and all
Mhm.
of those things, right, that
Right.
could go horribly wrong.
Yeah, and it all comes with experience. We've all made mistakes, and
Oh yeah.
as you grow and as you learn, you start to relax a little more because anxiety or fear or thinking you're going to fail is not going to help you. I mean, you
No.
should be humble. You should
Sure.
work hard. You shouldn't be like, "Oh, I got this." I've had it worked with a few shooters that they come back from a day of shooting. Oh, we killed him. God, that was the best I've ever. It's in their
Yeah.
mouth, and they call the director or call back to headquarters, and they're playing it up. Now immediately they want to see the rushes, and then they pull the rushes, and they're like, and I see it or they see it. And they're like, well, it's really
Yeah.
it's there, but it's you shouldn't have talked it up so
Yeah.
much.
No,
Aaron
that's the worst.
said this. Like I've always learned to try to be humble, even if you have the most got the shot. If not underplay it, but if don't, if you talk a big game, they're going to want a
Yeah.
big game. So
Yeah, because it's no idea. They've got no idea what that means, right? They just think it's the
yeah,
most epic thing that's ever been seen, and I've
yeah,
seen that time and time again. So I'm the same. I'll never talk it
yeah,
up. I go, yeah, I think
yeah,
we got it. I think we're good. I think we're okay. And then have them tell you that it's the best thing they've ever seen, right?
that's the one. That's the
Yeah,
one.
that's the
Exactly.
way to do it. Oh man, hey, I could chat with you, Andy, for another 8 hours, man, and just talk
Yeah,
about experiences.
I'll
Uh,
fly out and film some bears with you, or I'll drink beer while you film the bears. I
yeah,
can be
there
the
you go.
guy. It's outside of his house,
You're
and
right.
then we'll get 2 extra million hits when I run like a little monkey away from that bear.
Yeah, that's it. That'd be perfect. No, no, that'd be good. We should get together sometime. I know at some point, hopefully, I'll be getting together with Casey, and maybe we
Yeah,
could all get together and have some beers on a mountaintop somewhere. That'd be cool.
for it, man. That's what, like you said, you said at the beginning, like it's important to prioritize. It's great to be a professional and have an amazing wildlife filmmaking career, but there is more to life than networks and cameras and television and documentaries. It's such a special experience, and it's a gift that keeps giving because you get to live it, you get to breathe it, you get to shoot it, you get to then watch it and share it with the world. But if it's at the cost of your family's happiness or your own happiness, then you need to pump the brakes, and you need to
Yeah,
really, like, mental health is a huge thing these days. Not these days, it always has been, but now
sure.
it's
Even more
okay,
so. Yeah.
not okay kind of thing. So if there's anybody out there that's watching this that wants any advice from me, from Jake, from anyone, obviously, Jake, I know you probably do some of these intro outro things, but I'm really passionate about sharing my stories about trying to demystify that you don't have to be the best cameraman, camera woman, camera anything in the world. If you work hard, you're passionate, you love something, you can accomplish a lot. And we're here to help you. Hit us up on whatever, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever.
Just not your
And
website.
I think just don't not go to my website. I'm going to jump on there tonight and at least take off the EX1. Okay. Oh, Jake, man, I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun, man. I'm gonna jump on and listen to the rest of these, and let me know when it broadcasts or airs, and I'll shout it out and listen to it, and I appreciate it, man.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. Thanks. I know you're busy. Thanks for taking time out. Awesome. We'll chat again soon. Cheers.
You're the man. Take care. Cheers. See you guys.